Good evening. Let's call the regular meeting of the Costa Mesa Sanitary District for January 22nd, 2015 to order. If you'll all rise and join me in saluting the American flag. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moment of silence, Director Perry.
Yes, please stand for a moment of silence. Okay, thank you.
Madam Clerk, roll call.
Director James Ferriman.
Present.
Assistant Secretary Arlene Schaefer is absent at this meeting. Secretary Robert Wooten.
Here.
Vice President Arthur Perry.
Here.
And President Michael Schaefer.
Here.
Thank you.
Scott, any ceremonial matters?
No, Mr. President.
Let the record reflect that Director Schaefer is up at, on official business at, is it CSCA? Yeah, CSCA.
Thank you. Any late communications, Scott?
Yes, Mr. President, we did receive comments from Mr. Mosier on the minutes, and he made some suggested corrections, and we responded back to him, thanking him, and he noticed those changes.
Thank you very much. They were all work.
Yes, correct.
Okay. At this time, we'll entertain anyone from the public who has public comments. This time is set aside for persons in the audience to make comments on items within the subject matter of the Costa Mesa Sanitary District that are not on the agenda. Anyone from the public? Seeing no one, we'll move to the consent calendar.
Move it. Second. With the changes.
With the changes we got late.
From Mr. Mosier, yes.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Seeing no opposition, it passes unanimously. Brings us to item 10.
No public hearing.
We have no public hearing, so we'll move to X is 10, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay. We'll move to item 10, General Manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. President. Wendy Davis will be giving this report.
Thank you. Attached you have a copy of the district's financial statements that are for your approval, and as well as a letter from the auditors on communication to the board, and the report on internal controls over financial statements and compliance with other matters letter from the auditors. And the district completed the audit with no management comments, not manager comments. He always comments to me. I'm happy to answer any questions. Overall, the district improved. Do you have any questions?
I have a question. Mm-hmm. So that 59 million, that includes our asset management, right?
Yes, it does. All the fixed assets of the district, including the pipes underground. And
is this the capital?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. At the end of the capital, gives a lot of really good data. And one of the items is the flow data. And I was at the Orange County San District meeting this month, or the orientation. They were trying to orient me.
They had a hard time doing
They have a hammer and chisel.
But they never give up.
No, they don't.
And I think the general manager said the flow was down to substantially less than 200 MGD,
Yeah.
185 MGD. Yeah. So the capper shows the flow is increasing, and maybe I'd like to sometimes sit on the job and talk about that, because I think I honestly think it's going down.
Rob.
Thank you, Mr. President. We base our projections of flow based on data provided by Orange County Sanitation District. They have projected wastewater flows for every 5 years for a number of periods, and we interpolate between the 5-year numbers and come up with a yearly number, and that's what ends up in our reports. So perhaps we could get, if it's available, from Orange County Sanitation District, a new 5-year estimation for the future, and then we could base our numbers off of that.
Do you use projected flows from like your strategic plan, or do you use actual data?
They gave us, we received an email or something, I have it on my
Okay.
computer,
That might be the difference.
it was the 5-year projected flows. I don't remember what the ending date was. Would it be possible to request Orange County Sanitation District reevaluate those projections?
Well, I think maybe I'm using actual data, and you've given a projection, so maybe we can talk about that.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
I think it's interesting to note, and thank you, Liddy, the net position of the solid waste fund increase, the net position decrease, but that was reflective of our rate decrease to the ratepayers. I think that was very good. But on the other side, the liquid waste going up primarily because of our investment work.
Actually, we had budgeted to expend more in capital projects that we haven't expended yet, so we carry over. So our fund balance and the interest earned on those keeps increasing, but we are working on getting the projects all squared away. They should open in the next 6 to 18 months.
Okay. I have a question for one. If we ever have to pay for that fine that we're going to be receiving, would that come out of the liquid waste fund?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
It's always nice to get an audit where they say there are no discrepancies, everybody agree with everything. I mean, I've seen some, especially with nonprofits, where they have a litany of things, and this was very refreshing. Any other questions for staff? All right, we have a motion to receive the file.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Aye. No opposition, so it passes unanimously. Street plan update, Scott?
Thank you, Mr. President. Now, this is your quarterly report that we give to you every 3 months to kind of show you the progress that we made to achieving the strategic goals. And I think, as you can see, we are making progress to achieving most of the goals that the board has set for staff to achieve. Some of these goals are ongoing, but you see in the report that we're still always making progress on meeting those goals in the strategic element. This is really just for filing, for receiving file and available to answer any questions. It is, as I mentioned there, this is our 5th year of the plan, and the next item on the agenda will be talking about special meeting to begin the discussion and work on developing a 2015 to 20 strategic plan.
You know, the only one that really jumps out is the red one, like the Citizens Academy,
Yes.
Solid Waste Academy.
Yes.
That's one that, as we move forward to adjust for the next 5 years, we're gonna probably want to take that out.
Yes.
I mean, where we've had 0 luck, and okay.
Yes.
After looking at this, you know, in the past, we used to have Mark give us investment policy updates. And we haven't done that in the last few years, but I think it might be beneficial for us to do that again for a certain amount of time. Just in case we're asked questions, we'll be more up to date. You know what I'm talking about, don't you?
Talking about the
come in a
investment
half hour
committee?
before the meeting.
What the investment committee used to have.
Yeah. May I clarify? Yes, we used to have the quarterly investment committee meetings before the meeting. And when a couple years ago, when the standing committees were reviewed as to which ones should continue and which ones shouldn't, the board at that time decided to pull the investment committee off and not have them meet quarterly. In lieu of that, what we have done is at an actual board meeting, and that will occur tonight, it's later on the agenda, that we have that exact same discussion during the board meeting where we go over but it's only going over the treasurer's report. We did use the investment committee meetings to talk about other things as well that we don't typically do at the quarterly pullout. But every 3 months we do pull it out. We do talk about it at the board meeting.
I know, but we don't get into much depth when we do that. But when we did it prior to, a couple years ago. It was good experience and knowledge for us to have. I just thought that we should discuss that at a later time, maybe reincorporate that. Because at one of the conferences that came up as a possibility that you should be doing it for board members.
And would it be worthy of putting it on quarterly on a study session?
Well, your board, Mr. President, your operations code provides, in accordance with the state law, that you're required to adopt and review your investment policy on an annual basis and approve that at an annual meeting. But you're also to review the district's investments on at least a quarterly basis. So I think that's what Mark was saying, that you are doing that, and that is what is required. And quarterly is.
I was just thinking, we don't get as much in-depth information like we did. We took a half-hour explanation of what exactly we were doing. That's all my point. If we could consider that maybe a study session for, if we wanted to reincorporate that.
That's what the board wants to do. Yeah, it doesn't say that's your regular meeting, it can be a study session.
Some of the goals have green, which means completed, but in the completion timeline it says ongoing. I guess I would think when they're green, they just should be green and nothing in it. And there's, they're sprinkled throughout the thing. So once the goal's complete, the timeline, I guess I would assume timeline. We can talk about that with
Sure.
the next time we do the plan.
Okay.
And then one other thing, if I could.
Yes.
Okay, going back on 3.3 develop a partnership with the property owners, operate private sewer pump stations.
Yes.
Remember we talked about maybe considering having something that we could require that they monitor their
The alarms.
alarms.
Yeah.
Alarms, if we could discuss that. I don't know if that's something you thought about. But I thought that was a really good idea, if we could require that.
Sure.
Like, yeah, have a meeting with them and say, yeah, you're gonna have to have a monitoring so that'll prevent. Just a thought.
Okay.
Any other questions? Yeah, this is not an action item on a board.
No, just receiving files.
Okay. Then you want to talk about scheduling item 12, schedule a special meeting?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I thought it would be appropriate if we have a special meeting to discuss a new 5-year strategic plan. The meeting will be pretty similar to what we did when back in 2013 when we revised the plan. So I would facilitate the meeting and would have staff here to help engage and offer suggestions, and together as a collaborative team we can all work on looking at if we need to update our strategic elements, look at our mission again, look at our core values, see if we need to revise anything, and then definitely go down through the goals and see if we need to change any of the goals or put some new timelines on it. So it would be a good working type special meeting.
How long do you think we'll need?
I was just thinking, when do you think these are doing?
Well, that's what we're having up here for you. So you have to pick a day we can start doing that as soon as you're ready.
Next month or in March, or what you're thinking for you?
Well, let me ask you,
Okay.
is any of what we budget, is any of the strategic goals likely to impact the budget? And that would put,
Yes.
that would put a time,
Right,
that'd be one constraint.
Yeah, that's a good point. So whatever goals that there are some goals in the plan that does have impact on the budget, and we budget appropriately. But if there's new goals that you want to add and that might have a fiscal impact, now's the time to do it. So to answer your question, sooner the better. Because we're starting now, we're going to gear up for the budget. In the study session on February 10th, Wendy's going to present to you a calendar of the meetings and everything for our budget process.
Maybe start in March, or end of February or early March.
And I would that for how long we keep open 2 hours.
Oh, I'd say half a day.
Just so we.
Half a day, you want to go farther than that?
I would calendar half a day.
Okay.
Just to be careful, if we get done in 2 hours, great, but let's
So we'll have to.
is that okay with everybody?
Yeah.
In the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, earlier is better.
Yeah, it'd be done, so.
Golf and softball season starts next month.
Does that mean we're not?
Most of us are up at 6.
I'm ready to go at 5:30. Are you?
Jim just said he was up at 6.
Who's up at 6? There's only one.
Although when we called him this morning,
He was up. He was up. He was.
right.
There's only one day of the week I get up that early.
You didn't call me earlier.
Bob, it's only one day of the week to get up that early. Thursday morning, for me.
I thought you were up early, catching that early break on the dawn patrol.
And Bob.
No, it's tea time at 6:52.
Mr. President, Luan just informed me that February 18th,
It's a Wednesday.
February 18th is
I'm
the
gonna be
board.
gone. That's why,
Yeah.
that's why we're talking about dates. I'm gone from the 14th through the 21st. Because you don't want me talking about going on a tour on the 13th.
I'm actually gone that week from the 18th to the 20th as well.
How about the 11th of February? Is that too soon?
I could do it, but I mean.
That's okay with me.
Don't come in, but
If I was on good point, I've got a Muscatine conference.
In the morning?
I was thinking I could do one day February or something. You would look at your calendar.
Monday the 23rd, Tuesday the 24th are both open.
Tuesday the 24th works good for me.
That's okay with me.
So let's go ahead and schedule that contingent upon Director Arlene Schaefer's.
Do we have a time on that?
8?
I'd say 8 o'clock.
8 to 12, kind of?
Yeah, but it probably won't take that long.
I don't think
I think he's pretty good at that. Pretty good at it.
Next, not budget,
strategic
plan.
Yes.
8 o'clock, did you say? I can walk over there.
Does that fit into your calendar?
Oh, yeah, it's pretty open, yeah, perfect.
Thank you. Label it on the service that we,
Yes, you will.
What was the date?
24.
24.
Any other questions? Okay, then we have the 24th of February at 8 a.m. for strategic plan update. Item 13.
Thank you, Mr. President. Wendy Davis will be giving the report.
Thank you. Attached is the mid-year budget review. There's approximately 5 months worth of expenditures since billing is always lagging. Staff is estimating that both of the funds will be under budget. The solid waste fund has expended about 40% of the budget at this point, and the liquid waste budget, operations only, not CIP, is about 32% expended. For most of the accounts at this point, we're still projecting them to be on target. We haven't had any unusual anomalies at this point, but it looks good so far.
I guess the biggest anomaly that we're looking at would be our proposed fine. I mean, that's really the biggest thing that's hanging out in the ether.
How are we gonna absorb that, would that be in last year's budget?
No, it will be, we haven't, we set up a liability for it, so we set aside money in the financial statements, but we didn't appropriate the money, so we essentially have a reservation for it, but there's no appropriation. So for that amount of money, when it is approved, we would have to come back to the board, get board approval to appropriate it. And at that time, I would tell you that it's probably going to come from retained earnings fund balance, because our,
From the liquid waste fund.
Yes.
Waste fund.
we have some money still in our contingency, but we're not anticipating that will be enough to cover what it is at this point in time.
Any questions?
So most of the data is for a 5-month period?
Well, it's as of the beginning of January, but like
Oh.
CR&R, we hadn't gotten the bills
Yeah,
yet. The phone bills and all those type of bills don't come in until a little later. So for substantially most of it is 5 months worth of data.
And I know it's not a major thing, but when do we get our property tax allocation?
We get our biggest property tax payment starting in November, when you all are paying your property taxes.
We're assuming a lot.
We're hoping.
If you say yes.
There's 8 secured payments, which are our largest bulk payments, and they run starting from November, and I think the 8th one is in May, yeah, for cleanup. So those are, so we're coming into money now.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought. Okay, Bob, you have a question? Art? No? Okay, anything else, Jim?
No.
All right, again, no action required on this one? Okay, let's move to the engineer's report. Rob?
We have a project status report. I'd be happy to answer any questions. Just as a FYI, on the February study session, we have a report on the financial side of Project 206, grade 4s. We also have a staff report on funding for Project 101, Westside Pumping Station Abandonment. So those you'll see at your study session.
You know, Art and I met with Scott the other day for our monthly. Did you talk to him about that album, or are we going to talk about that?
We're going to talk about probably one. Yeah, Rob's aware of that, and so we're going to talk about that as one of the options at your study session.
Okay, that's. I thought you said that the other day. Yeah. Okay, great. Bob?
Rob, the sewer panel, well, wait, the grade 5 rehab project basically done. I don't see it on there anymore.
197.
Okay, there. So we ended up with 235,000. Does that money go back in the asset management?
Wendy?
We actually just met to discuss the project status, what's completed, what's not completed, what still needs more money. And so we will bring that to you at the study session with some proposed suggestions to where we need money, where we have money, and so that will be at that meeting when we're funding the 101 and 306.
Thank you.
Scott, you know, when you met with Mike and I, you brought up past payment due to the city. Do we want to discuss that now so that the board members know?
It's. I don't know if we should be able to talk on it. It's not on the agenda. I prefer to talk about it in the budget process. If that's okay. You know, I could tell them, you know, privately, but it's not.
Or you send it to study session and just put a little blurb, so
Or director's comments.
well, under director's comments, can PRI say something about it?
No, I don't think. What are you, what's it regarding?
There was an item that Scott made Art and I aware of at our monthly roundtable meeting.
Would it be under something that would be appropriate under project status report?
That's what I thought.
I think
it's not listed there.
I mean, it was part of a project.
Well, it's part of the city projects, you know, raising manholes, and so it's nothing of our project. I mean,
Why don't you bring it up under director's comments, and we can't take action on it.
Yeah, we're not going to take, we're just information, just
Sure,
information.
sure.
No action.
Study session, you were going to use that project money.
But I thought it'd be important
Pay
for the
them?
other board members to know.
Or you
Yeah.
use the project
It's
money?
kind of
That's exactly what
Pay for
director's
that?
comments is about.
Okay. Very good.
we'll be bring it up and we'll talk about it.
Something else?
No.
Oh, okay. Rob, anything else?
No, thank you.
Thank you, sir, very much. Mark, you're up.
Thanks, Mr. President, board members. This is the quarterly review of the Treasurer's Report. The portfolio as of December 31 was earning 0.793%. Year to date, that brings us to 0.825% on rate of return. That compared to the local agency investment fund, LAIF was earning 0.267%, so we're about 52 basis points above LAIF's earnings. During the month of December, we did have our first large property tax allocation that was just discussed. It was about $3.5 million that had come in. So our LAIF balance ended up going up pretty high in December, and that caused our total portfolio earnings to go down a little bit because LAIF is at such a low rate. We did place 4 investments during the month of December. 2 federal home loan mortgage corporations, one at 1.5%, one at 2%, and then 2 negotiable certificates of deposit, both at $125,000 at a much shorter term. Both of those were just a 1-year and a 2-year negotiable certificates deposit. We're really leveraging our move to eConnect Direct, which was a product that the board approved about a year ago. And this allows us to look at a lot more investment options directly, as opposed to allowing a broker to only show us what they're holding in inventory. And so we've been able to take advantage of that and place some much smaller investments out there so that we don't have so much sitting at such low interest earnings. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. This item does require approval by the board.
Questions for Mark? Anybody?
Move to approval.
Second.
Motion and a second. Call for the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous approval. Thank you. I'm always impressed with, I think we do a pretty good job, or I think the investment stuff is very secure to me. I mean, it's stuff that I would probably invest in myself if I had millions of dollars. I think we have a really good portfolio based on a lot of the other groups that I've been involved with.
Mark, I suggest that, on the lines where you have all the different ones, you put Kimco.
Just don't put Wells Fargo. I mean, I'm watching the morning news this morning, and there's a reporter standing in front of my bank talking about ATM people getting held up with a gun, and my wife says, well, I was there last night. Don't go to Wells Fargo. Alan, anything to report?
No, Mr. President, my only speaking role will be in closed session, I'm afraid.
Okay, let's move on to local meetings then. Jim?
Orange County Sand District, the meeting's next week. We did have an orientation, as Bob indicated, and it was well attended. I think there were about 12 board members and 4 or 5 new board members.
We're just going to ask you how many new, you must have got some new ones after the
Yeah,
last election.
5, maybe 5 or 6.
Quite a lot.
Janet, who replaced Janet Nolan from the Board of Supervisors?
I think,
Special election, yeah. Oh.
I don't think they.
Oh, they'll probably wait till after the
Yeah,
special
yeah,
election.
yeah.
That's right.
Yeah,
I saw
it could
Teresa
be,
was over.
what's his name? Who's the alternate?
Nelson?
Yeah. Which well, never mind. Anyway, so it was a 3-hour session. So it was a good refresher for us board members.
Did you learn anything?
It's hard to tell.
Many of the comments.
Did he just come in there dead all
His
around?
glasses were hanging off the side of his head, and I couldn't tell if he was asleep or not.
Then the gentlemanly comment was directed at information that I wanted to know.
Good. Nice having you around. Art, Sarfa?
Jim and I just attended a meeting right before this meeting in Sarfa. The first thing that we had normal class and other items, including minutes, but Jim O'Connell back in Washington, D.C., had a phone relay with us, and he wanted to give us an update on the proposed budget. The president of the budget presented a $1.1 billion budget for the Corps of Engineers, but Congress passed a 1.5 approved budget, so it's increased greater than what we were hoping for. They won't know until after Monday, February 2nd, exactly how much the Corps is going to allocate to different areas that they're working on. But we know it's going to be significant for us to do a lot of the work on sand and flood control.
It's going to be more than what.
It's more than what we hoped for. So that was good. Good work. We're going to get a minimum of $30.8 million, because that was, so we're going to get more than it. Could be like 45% more.
Really?
Pretty good. On March, this is for the directors and then the staff members, on March 12th, it's going to be a field trip to Seven Oaks Dam. They were going to have it this month, but they postponed it to March 12th. And if anybody would like to go, it's going to be from like 9 to 2:30. Leave at 9, be back by 2:30. We're going to have a 15-passenger van. And if anybody's interested, I have the number for her, not for Sunday, to you would contact me. So we'd like to
You say March 12th or March 12th?
Then he received a letter from the grand jury asking a number of questions regarding what the organization is all about. He responded to them and have a copy of it if anybody'd like to look at it. You may want to look at it out. It's just pretty basic.
Is the grand jury going after other commissions now?
Yeah, they're looking at
passing special
they're looking
districts?
for everybody. So he responded in a.
Really?
Yeah.
Vector already got one and they responded.
We got one, we responded, that's someone on vacation. So
Oh, I think you mentioned that before, but I mean, they were harping on special districts, excuse me, they were looking into special districts pretty heavily, and now maybe they're going to look at other commissions.
It's a new grand jury.
Yeah.
And that's their only job. It's like, you know, you have to reinvent their mission every time, so
Yeah.
ask the same questions.
Yeah, it's pretty good down pat. And then one of the last things he talked about the Sorry Line river cutting ceremony that Jim and I attended, and we already discussed that. But the Sorry Line project was basically completed. They had budgeted $110 million for the completion, but they only spent $90 million, so that was a savings of $20 million. And we're doing the Westminster study. It's not going to be reported out until June or July from the court about the assessment, what has to be done, what the recommendations are, which won't really affect us, or it could affect a number of the city centers of each round what the plan is. So that's basically our report. Yeah. Plus, we did have some new members also, and they were being informed from Lance and Herb about what the organization is all about.
Will any of the money for the flood control, will that be used towards the improving the Santa Ana waterway as a recreational thing? Is that a byproduct of it, or is that
Well, they didn't talk about anything recreational. You know, our budget, I think, is just from Seven Oaks all the way down to the Main Street.
We're trying to make the whole thing a nice, beautified trail.
Well, they were doing a lot of recreation work, like in the city of you know where it goes through Norco? There was some talk about some stuff.
This is Orange County. This is Orange County. Well, actually.
Norco just Orange County?
Well, no, it goes from, it's a whole line, but they've never talked about recreational monies.
There's been a lot in the paper lately about how they're trying to make it like they do with the LA River, except we're a little bit better than that, is that we actually do have flows, and they're trying to make it so it's recreational.
Yeah, we've never discussed that, so if they do, I'll ask about it next time.
I would think higher priorities would be finish raising the dam and.
Well, they have to buy all the land behind the
Infrastructure
dam
stuff.
first.
Yeah.
And that can't happen until they do that. So they're gonna raise it from 28 feet to, I don't know how far, 4 more feet, something like that. But they can't do that.
Seven Oaks or Prado?
No,
Prado, they're gonna raise one.
Yeah, because they can't, the spillway, because they can't raise it until they buy all the land behind it, which,
Because when they,
Because of the water flow.
because if it does flood, it'll flood that whole area.
they're gonna store how many millions of gallons back there, and, you know, they have a line of the demarcation, I forget what they call it, but they gotta buy all the land up to that point.
I think they're like 60% or more, but they purchase the land whenever they want it, but they still have to buy 40%. And the property values went down the last few years, so they purchased more, and the state has been sending money back to the subvention funds, which has been good. The state has money to do that.
Okay.
That's my report.
Very good. ISDOC, executive committee meeting, basically, we do have a quarterly meeting next Thursday with Michelle Steele, newly elected supervisor, as the guest speaker, who will speak very quickly because she has a radio interview at 12:15. That's delayed at 12:15. And then there's some ceremonial matters. We're going to recognize Rich Freshy for his work. And then hold an election for third vice president. We've got a couple of applications, folks that are fitting for that. John Withers on his LAFCO report reminded us, and I sent Scott a note today about the Collaborative Services Summit on February 26th from 8 to 12 at Costa Mesa Country Club. LAFCO is doing what's called a collaborative services, and it's free to go, and it includes breakfast. You said we were a sponsor of that?
Yeah, I got a letter from Carolyn encouraging districts to be a partner for like $300, and then we get our name on all the advertisement. forget if it's in Costa, this is in Costa Mesa.
Yeah.
They're expecting about 250 people to attend.
It should be a
So it'd be
good-
good opportunity to get our name out there.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm gonna go.
yeah, I've registered for it.
What day is it? I think.
February 26th. We got a quick calling meeting on Thursday. So
Yeah.
that's okay. Okay, that's really it from his doc. CSDA, Arlene's not here, but I'll just give a quick report. A week ago, last Friday, I was in Sacramento for the Education Committee and the Member Services, no, whatever it's called now, the Member Services and the Professional Development. Scott was there. I'm glad to see you as part of that committee. I think that from a general manager standpoint, you have a lot to offer.
But yeah, I'm on the subcommittee for selecting keynote
Yeah.
speakers.
And actually, Michelle is also on the committee.
Denise.
Michelle, jeez. What's her name? Denise is also on the committee, and we had good representation.
Yeah.
Did you notice that general manager from up north get up and leave? He was gone for like 3 hours, and then he came back.
Yeah.
Anyway,
It was
you
interesting
stuck it out. You did a good job.
Everyone from Orange County was on one row.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's very interesting.
It's funny, the makeup of that committee last year was laborious. This time, you got through that stuff.
We got some good Orange County representation.
There are a lot of good ones. SDRMA, we had a board meeting. Nothing major came out of the board meeting. We have a board meeting in 2 weeks. I'll have a better report then. We're getting ready for budget up there, which of course reflects on rates. But the rates have been very stable, and I don't expect to see any changes. Knock on wood. Yeah. Workers' comp, we don't have any kind of modifications. We're in good shape. Everything with workers' comp revolves around the workers' comp bureau. And there's some rumblings they might be looking at some rate adjustments or some mod adjustments, but I haven't seen any of that even from my standpoint. So.
A lot of injuries going on out there?
When we talk about the rates at SRMA, I'll have to bring this and show you guys sometime, but we have Dennis Timothy puts together a list of the more common injuries and what the payouts are and everything. There's a lot of mental things that are going on right now. Back injuries are always pretty prevalent, It's an interesting report. I'll have to bring that in sometime.
I did attend Waco and
Yeah, it's really fun.
in the city of Jam.
Anything else on CSBA staff?
No.
Other meetings?
Well, Bob talked about Waco.
Oh, well, yeah, they had a person that was talking about the Salton Sea.
You can desalinate salt and sea?
No, they said there's no fresh water going into the Salton Sea.
Yeah, that was the important thing, was from the freshwater people's perspective, no water is being allocated to it. It's in total disarray, and it's losing water, and sort of recreational values are changing, and it was up in the air. Then there was a report by a fellow from the LA DWP on the Owens Valley, and since Owens Valley, the Air Quality Management District is making LA try to keep the dust down, because they drained the lake and there's a huge amount of dust.
River's down to a trickle, isn't it?
Yeah, so they had 5 or 6 different alternatives that they discussed for keeping the dust down. One of the least costly ones that they're still struggling to get regulatory approval of is just putting gravel down there. And the struggle is what color the gravel should be. So as soon as they determine what the gravel is, they can also wet it.
Well, that's what they're trying to eliminate, because they're putting millions of gallons on the dust. They're wasting the water.
Yeah.
So that's one of the main.
It's counterproductive.
Where's the dust going? Did they see where the dust
Although
goes?
it just goes everywhere. I mean, it depends on which way the wind goes. It goes down the wind.
There's nobody up there.
Whoever's up there is influential in with the quality of memory. Apparently when it's dusty, it is horrible.
Weren't they trying to restore that after,
Yeah. Yeah, they
decades
were.
of us taking the water?
Well, they're, yeah, well,
I mean, with actual water.
they have
Well, we
a
allocated
regulatory
some water
requirement.
to it at one
Yeah.
point.
Yeah, they have a regulatory requirement to mitigate the dust. The easiest way to do it would be just to fill it back up with water. And they don't wanna do that. And they during the drought, they definitely won't do that, but they probably have some timelines. Anyway, they discussed alternatives to dust mitigation, which is plantings and water and gravel. Cheapest one is to put gravel everywhere.
Where do they get the gravel?
It depends on the color of the gravel.
I don't think
Depends a lot on the color. Anyway, Art brought one of the handouts that we had,
Yeah, if you like to look at it, it's not water.
so, did you wanna look at it, President?
No, okay, any other meetings? Art?
Well, Jim and I attended the chamber breakfast, and they had a great speaker from Microsoft. And I brought the letter that they gave to us. We have to be PCI compliant. I don't know, that's what I'm asking.
Politically correct.
No.
Plan
No,
checking
this is,
inspection.
they talk about, do we have a dedicated firewall for our computers?
No, for the,
Do we-
protect privacy of.
Protect firewall. Do we have a separate web and database server? Or there's just one, do we have separate ones?
I believe so.
Okay, so these are the questions, because there's big fines if you don't have these things.
Also,
And you have to go through an audit annually.
From who? Who does the audit?
I mean,
I don't know.
if they audit you, the fines go from like
No.
$5,000 to $50,000.
Who finds this?
The federal government, I guess. So.
I don't know.
But I brought this flyer. It tells you all of the different
NSA.
things. I mean, because Jim and I didn't know
TSA.
exactly what we were
Yeah, we
doing,
were
but
kind of
Those
shocked
two.
to hear that.
because these guys that swipe the credit cards at the
Yeah.
fairgrounds, those guys have to have a report, everything that's swiped, they have to report who did it. And most of those guys don't do that, but they could be fined by not having that report for the government, or for the, I don't know if it's state, federal, but.
I know the Lions Club's in trouble.
Yeah, that's what we
Big
said,
time.
we're gonna be in trouble. We
Big
don't,
time.
we have to have a report of everybody that swipes a card.
We have no
You know, on
clue.
a- on
We
those-
don't swipe credit cards.
Well, ATM machine.
Don't we have a card swiper? Oh, we don't do that.
We tried to do that, and it was so confusing that the person we put in charge of it
Yeah.
threw his hands up and said, I'm not doing that.
Because that's why Jim and I say, hey, we might be in trouble if we're
Yeah,
doing that.
they're gonna throw us in a brink.
But you can take that and look at it. I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
they were
we
probably good shape. I didn't know, but I wanted to bring it to your attention. But it was a pretty good meeting.
If you guys go to jail, just tell me what kind of paper.
No,
Peanut butter sandwiches.
It'll be the president that goes.
Yeah, I know there's provisions if you, somebody
3
breaches
meals a
you,
day.
Yeah.
you have obligations
forward.
to,
Yeah, you do.
yeah, but I didn't know about the other. Is this Small Hollow?
I can't see it.
Probably, yeah,
Yeah.
that is.
Very good.
That's it.
Good job. Any other meetings? Okay, no old business to consider
Well,
this evening? Oh,
okay, yeah, no, because we'll, director's comments, and we'll get, I don't know.
well, should we go through all the items and then adjourn to closed session?
Sure.
We do that? Okay. No old business, no new business, and oral communications, director's comments?
I just had that one, is it okay to discuss this? Okay. We've been assessed by the city for bringing up the manholes to grade. And we were, maybe you can explain this stuff.
Yes, so when the city does street improvements, they raise our manholes for us, rather than having us go and hire a contractor, go on to bid. We just say, they ask us permission, can our contractor go ahead and raise the manholes if we're there? And we say, yes, you can do that. Well, the thing is, they've been doing this since 2006, they've never billed us. So we got a bill, goes back to 2006, for $280,000.
Statute of limitations.
Yeah.
Is there?
Oh, yeah.
That's good to know. Because they did the same thing with Mesa Water. They billed them like $330,000. And so Rob went and confirmed, how many were actually raised by the contractor, and we got it down to like $250,000. And what I said, well, I'll take it to the board for budget approval, but I'm not going to pay this fiscal year. If we're going to pay anything, it'll be next fiscal year. But I don't know about the statute of limitations. So.
Yeah, 4 years on a written contract, so it's generally something less than 4 years.
What if it's a verbal contract?
Well, it wasn't verbal.
Yeah.
I actually
What did you-
filled out a form that says, please adjust our manholes to grade and bill me later. And just real quickly, we probably save half the cost by doing it that way, because otherwise we have to mobilize our own contractor who has to work with their contractor, and that's an issue. Plus, the city is giving us the percentage of funding that they receive. Like if they receive OCTA money, 60-40, they give us that discount on our manholes being raised. So it's much less expensive for us. They just never billed us.
In theory, it's a great program.
Right.
In practice, the city isn't following.
How do you know that they didn't include that?
That they, I'm sorry?
How do you know that they didn't fudge on the,
On the
they
number
never
of,
played it straight with us before, so why would they start now?
well, we're able to go back and confirm the number of manholes. And I've reviewed the price per manhole that the contractor bid, and that the funding percent we're having as additional discount, and the prices are very good. So we are able to verify that, because we know we have so many manholes between here and here. So we're working with the city to come to confirmation of exactly how many manholes and the price.
Yeah, I wasn't really concerned about the payment part. I was just concerned that directors knew what was going on, so they didn't get surprised later.
But the 4-year statutory limitation is interesting, so do you want to see the bill or something like that? And maybe we can send a response since, we'll take the 4 years.
We're still waiting for the final bill.
Okay.
The board probably wants to take a position on it unless you want to handle it at the staff level first.
Well, I'm sure the board doesn't want to pay 10 years worth of bills.
Yeah.
Can we go pay it, and would we be in violation of paying the full amount for 9 years, or not?
We probably ought to not have a discussion on this matter unless we bring it up, unless there's a need to take action.
Okay.
Yeah, it might be good to set this for another hearing, but.
No, my point is just let the directors know what was
Yeah.
going on, not for about payment.
Very interesting.
How can they be that unbusinesslike? I mean, it's ridiculous. Not only that, no, I'm just about to.
Yeah, I know, I feel the same way.
I hate to
Shut
share
up.
Good Lord. That's
Okay, any other?
Mr. President, on a different issue, going back to this PCI, I found out what it stands for. It's Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard. The Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard. So it's some kind of, yeah.
We
Well,
don't
regarding
select
credit
credit
cards.
cards?
Yeah, we do now.
Is it from the federal
that's-
government?
Yeah, it looks like it's from a government
We keep
standard.
reporting.
We can
everybody.
cancel
That'll
that
give you
tomorrow.
That'll give you something to do.
Yeah.
Do we have any of those things that sit on the counter and you go?
Oh, the carbon copy one?
Yeah.
You have a sledgehammer?
My question is, do we keep a report of everybody's that we swipe?
Yes.
That was their main concern, because some of these vendors don't do that. They just take the credit.
We do.
Thank you for looking at that. Thank you.
Any comments? James?
Well, I definitely think we need to put this on an agenda, the city thing.
Well, I'd suggest we start talking about it for study session, our next study session.
Okay, a couple things for you. As you know, at this time of the year, we start looking at evaluation for the general manager. So I would like all of us to have goals, questions, your thoughts to me by the study session in February, if you can. And then we'll set up a time frame. Then, Jim, I'm going to need some help, obviously, to do Scott's evaluation. So questions for Scott, your evaluation of Scott, things that you think are relevant. You can have those by the February study session.
And what you should do is, Mr. President, is one little wrinkle is that you have to actually trade them in a meeting.
Okay.
You can't collect them outside of the meeting and then, because then you're getting to a collective concurrence outside of a meeting. So
Okay.
it's a little
Can we do-
technicality we got to take care of.
Can we collect them at a study session?
Absolutely.
Okay, so if you bring them to the next study session, we'll handle it then, Scott, and then set up a schedule.
Okay.
Okay.
Yvonne, can you remind us what to do?
Sure.
Two other really quick things. Bill Nelson, who you all know, the Orange County Cemetery District, and now councilman from the city of Yorba Linda.
Villa Park. Villa Park.
I'm sorry, Villa Park. Where am I today? Bill was appointed to the cemetery district by his county supervisor, who is now Todd Spitzer. And Todd has not yet reappointed Bill to his position. And he's told Bill he thinks he's going to, but he hasn't done it. So I wrote a letter to Todd on behalf of myself, not on behalf of the district or his doctor, and just asked Todd to please consider Bill for reappointment. So if you guys get a chance to talk to Todd, or if you know Todd, you might, if you're happy with Bill, put in a plug for Bill. The last thing I have is just some information for all of you that I think Scott is meeting with the mayor tomorrow morning and staff from the city regarding leaky hydraulics.
Hydraulic leaking fracture. Yeah.
And you were saying that they showed you some pictures,
Mm-hmm.
and none of them were CRR trucks.
Well, if they were under their commercial contract. They weren't the side loaders or the front loaders.
Okay.
And he showed me other pictures like from Universal Waste. So they weren't our franchise.
After you had told me that, I think the mayor, I think you might want to remind the mayor that if he's going to call meetings, he shouldn't be doing it with you. He should be doing it with us, the board, or his staff should be contacting. I don't know how you're going to do that delicately, but just
I'll talk to Tom.
Talk to Tom.
Yeah.
Okay. I think it's inappropriate for the mayor to ask our staff people without talking to us first.
It might be really,
Oh, sorry.
excuse me, I was just thinking that might be really helpful if you were to say that the president of our board mentioned that to you.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a matter of comedy,
That'd be more than
equal to
okay.
equal.
I can't be there. I would like to be there tomorrow, but I've asked Bob to attend in my place.
We thought a board member should be present.
Yes.
Just to see what's going on.
Well, you should ask them a question, is there any grease on the gravel over by the third track?
Would you,
Have you,
if you get that under
That's
review,
not-
you
that's
can spell
not-
it
have
directly.
you checked that gravel you had put in
Look,
at Fairview Park to see if there was any grease release?
He gets asked that question at city council.
That's a legitimate question, isn't it?
I'll let Bob ask that.
yeah, let Bob. Scott, don't ask that
He was
question.
asked that at the city council meeting. That I wasn't there, but my name was in the paper. I was in the.
Yeah, that's right.
He instructed.
Just like the election, they can't get the ferries straight.
Yeah.
Put down all this
Okay.
gravel over the third
If there are no other oral communications or direct staff, any other comments from staff? Anything else from staff? Great. Then at this point, I will adjourn our meeting pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9 to discuss litigation with legal counsel.
And that was the Regional Water Quality Control Board complaint R8-2014-0017 for anticipated litigation.
Yeah, like 6 days.
Have a good evening. You too.
I got something.
You get one time.
Just one time.